Most men think attraction begins with flirting, compliments, or words. But the truth is, a woman's body often reveals her interest long before she ever says it out loud. In this video, you'll discover the subtle psychological signs women show when they feel comfortable, emotionally connected, and secretly drawn to your presence without even realizing it themselves. Most people assume attraction is communicated through words, compliments, flirting, playful conversations, or obvious signals. But in reality, some of the most powerful signs of interest are not spoken at all. They appear through body language, proximity, and comfort with physical presence. Human beings communicate constantly without realizing it. Every movement, every pause, every gesture sends information to the other person. When two people begin feeling drawn to each other, their bodies often reveal it long before either of them says anything directly. This is especially true when it comes to physical comfort. When someone feels relaxed around you, their personal boundaries naturally soften. Think about how different your body language feels around strangers compared to people you trust deeply. Around strangers, there is distance, movements are cautious, and physical contact is limited or avoided entirely. But with someone you feel safe with, that distance begins to disappear. The same principle applies in attraction. A woman who feels curious or comfortable around the man often shows it through subtle changes in how close she allows him to be. She may not openly say that she feels interested, but her reactions to physical presence can quietly reveal what she feels. These signals are not dramatic. They're often small moments that happen during ordinary conversation. Maybe she doesn't move away when he stands close beside her. Maybe she remains relaxed when their hands briefly touch while reaching for something. Sometimes she even leans slightly closer without noticing she's doing it. These moments matter more than many people realize. Physical comfort is closely connected to emotional trust. When someone feels safe, their body becomes less guarded. Their movements become natural rather than defensive. They stop focusing on maintaining distance and begin focusing on the interaction itself. This shift in comfort often becomes one of the earliest signs of growing attraction. Understanding these signals requires awareness. It is not about forcing physical interaction or trying to create moments artificially. Instead, it is about noticing how someone naturally responds to closeness. When a woman feels relaxed around you, her body often communicates that feeling long before words do. Learning to recognize these subtle cues can completely change the way you understand social interactions. Instead of relying only on obvious signals, you begin to see the deeper language of human connection that is always present just beneath the surface. One of the most powerful yet misunderstood aspects of human connection is touch. Long before people developed complex language, physical contact was one of the primary ways humans communicated trust, comfort, and emotional safety. Even today, the human brain responds to touch in ways that go far deeper than simple physical sensation. When two people make physical contact, the brain immediately begins emotional information. It is not just registering the pressure of a hand or the warmth of skin. The nervous system is also interpreting intention. Is the touch gentle or tense? Calm or uncertain? Confident or hesitant? All of these subtle signals are analyzed almost instantly, often before either person consciously thinks about it. This is why touch can sometimes feel meaningful even when nothing is said. The human brain releases certain chemicals during comfortable physical contact. One of the most important is oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is associated with feelings of trust, relaxation, and emotional connection. When people experience safe, respectful physical contact, this chemical response can make them feel more comfortable with the person they are interacting with. But the keyword here is safe. Touch only creates positive emotional responses when it occurs in an environment of trust and comfort. If someone feels uncertain or pressured, the brain reacts very differently. Instead of producing relaxation chemicals, the body can activate defensive responses that increase tension and distance. This is why emotional awareness matters so much. When a woman feels comfortable around someone, her nervous system gradually relaxes. Her body becomes more open to proximity and natural interaction. Small, harmless touches during conversation, like brushing hands while reaching for something or standing closer during a discussion, begin to feel normal rather than intrusive. These moments often signal that emotional comfort is growing. However, it is important to understand that touch alone does not create attraction. Instead, it reflects the level of trust already present between two people. When someone feels safe, physical closeness feels natural. When trust is absent, even the smallest touch can feel uncomfortable. In other words, touch is a mirror. It reflects the emotional atmosphere between two people. When the atmosphere is calm, respectful, and positive, physical closeness can strengthen the feeling of connection. But when the atmosphere is tense or uncertain, distance becomes the natural response. This is why understanding the psychology behind touch can change how someone reads social signals. Instead of focusing only on words, you begin noticing how people react to closeness, how relaxed they appear during physical proximity, and how naturally interactions unfold. These subtle reactions often reveal far more about emotional connection than spoken language ever could. One of the most common misunderstandings in dating and social interaction is the belief that attraction should always be obvious. Many men expect that if a woman is interested, she will express it clearly through flirting, compliments, or direct statements. But in reality, attraction is often communicated in much quieter ways. For many women, subtlety feels safer than direct expression. Showing interest openly can feel vulnerable. If the feeling is not returned, it can lead to awkwardness or embarrassment. Because of this, many women prefer to signal their curiosity in ways that allow them to step forward emotionally without fully exposing themselves. Instead of bold declarations, they often rely on smaller signals. These signals may appear in body language, tone of voice, or how comfortable they feel being physically close to someone. A woman might not openly say she's attracted, but she may stand a little closer than necessary, remain relaxed when there is brief physical contact, or allow moments of closeness that she would normally avoid with someone she does not trust. This is where awareness becomes important. When attraction is communicated subtly, it can easily be missed by someone who is only looking for obvious signs. Many men interpret a woman's friendliness as simple politeness, even when there are deeper signals hidden in the interaction. At the same time, subtle communication allows attraction to grow naturally. Instead of forcing the situation with direct statements, both people can explore the interaction step by step. Each small moment of comfort, standing close, sharing laughter, allowing brief touches during conversation creates a gradual sense of familiarity. Over time, these moments begin to build emotional connection. Another reason subtle communication is common is that it allows both people to maintain control of the situation. If one person senses that the interest is not mutual, they can simply step back without the discomfort of rejection. This quiet testing of the atmosphere often happens without either person consciously realizing it. A woman may simply notice that she feels comfortable near a particular man. She might find herself standing closer during conversation or not pulling away when their hands briefly touch. These reactions are often instinctive rather than planned. Her body is responding to a feeling of comfort and curiosity. Understanding this dynamic changes the way someone reads social interactions. Instead of expecting loud signals, you begin noticing the softer ones. You pay attention to comfort, proximity, and the natural rhythm of the conversation. When these small signals appear together, they often reveal something important. They show that the interaction has moved beyond simple friendliness and into the early stages of genuine attraction. One of the most important concepts to understand in human interaction is the idea of personal boundaries. Every person carries invisible boundaries around their body and their personal space. These boundaries are not random. They are deeply connected to emotional comfort and trust. When we are around strangers, these boundaries are usually very strong. Think about how people behave in a crowded elevator or when standing next to someone they do not know. Most individuals instinctively create distance. They avoid unnecessary physical contact, keep their movements limited, and remain aware of the space between themselves and others. This reaction is natural. Our brains are designed to protect us by maintaining safe distances from unfamiliar people. It is a subconscious system that constantly evaluates whether a situation feels safe or uncertain. When someone enters that personal space without permission, discomfort often appears immediately. But something interesting happens when trust begins to grow. As people become more comfortable with each other, their personal boundaries begin to relax. The invisible distance that once felt necessary slowly disappears. Physical proximity starts to feel natural rather than uncomfortable. This change suddenly unfolds gradually through repeated moments of positive interaction. A shared laugh, a friendly conversation, or a calm exchange of ideas can slowly reduce the tension that normally exists between two people who have just met. When this happens, the body language begins to shift. People may stand closer during conversation. Their movements become less guarded. They might lean slightly toward each other while talking, showing that the interaction feels comfortable rather than threatening. These small changes often reveal more than words. When a woman feels relaxed in someone's presence, her body naturally communicates that comfort. She may allow a closer distance than usual, maintain eye contact longer, or remain calm during moments of accidental touch. These reactions suggest that her boundaries are beginning to soften. However, it is important to understand that this process must always happen naturally. Trust cannot be forced or rushed. When someone tries to push past another person's boundaries too quickly, the body immediately reacts with discomfort. Instead of creating attraction, it creates distance. Real connection grows through patience and awareness. It develops through respectful interaction where both people feel safe and valued. When that environment exists, physical comfort appears naturally as a reflection of emotional trust. Understanding boundaries changes the way someone reads social signals. Instead of focusing only on what people say, you begin noticing how they manage personal space. When someone allows you into that space without tension or hesitation, it often signals that the interaction has moved into a place of comfort and growing trust. Once two people begin feeling comfortable around each other, small forms of casual contact can start appearing during normal interaction. These moments are usually subtle and easy to overlook, but they often reveal that the atmosphere between them has shifted from cautious to relaxed. Early signs of comfort often appear through neutral, everyday gestures. For example, during a conversation, someone might lightly touch the other person's arm while laughing at a joke or emphasizing a point. This type of contact is usually brief and natural, lasting only a moment before the conversation continues. Yet, even though it seems small, it carries emotional meaning. Touching someone's arm or shoulder is often considered socially neutral. These areas are not highly personal or intimate, which makes them common starting points for friendly interaction. Because they are neutral zones, people often feel comfortable allowing brief contact there without interpreting it as romantic or inappropriate. However, the reaction to these small gestures can reveal something important. If a woman remains relaxed and continues the conversation naturally after brief contact, it often indicates that she feels comfortable in the interaction. Her body language stays open, and there is no sudden movement to create distance. Comfort is the key signal here. When someone feels uneasy, the reaction is usually immediate. They shift their body away, cross their arms, or step back slightly to restore personal space. These reactions are automatic and happen without conscious thought. But when comfort is present, none of those defensive movements appear. Instead, the interaction flows smoothly. The conversation continues, laughter feels natural, and the distance between the two people remains relaxed rather than guarded. Another important detail is that these early moments of contact often happen during positive emotional moments. People are more likely to make brief physical contact when they are sharing a laugh, expressing excitement, or enjoying a light-hearted conversation. These emotional moments create a sense of connection, and the body naturally responds with gestures that reinforce that feeling. It is important not to misunderstand these signals. Casual contact does not always mean romantic attraction. Sometimes it simply reflects friendliness or social warmth. The key is to observe the overall pattern rather than a single moment. When comfort, positive conversation, and relaxed body language appear together, they create a clear picture. These early signs of comfort are often the first stage of deeper connection. They show that the interaction has moved beyond formality and into a space where both people feel relaxed and open. From this point, the level of closeness can gradually evolve depending on how the interaction continues. As comfort grows between two people, something subtle begins to change in the interaction. What once felt like simple friendliness can slowly shift into something more personal. This transition is rarely sudden. Instead, it appears through small moments that reveal increasing emotional openness. At this stage, physical interaction begins to feel more natural. Instead of brief, accidental contact, there may be slightly longer moments of touch during conversation. A hand might remain on the arm for a second longer than before, or two people might sit closer without either of them adjusting their position. These small differences can reveal growing interest. When someone feels emotionally comfortable, their body language becomes more relaxed. Movements are less guarded, and the natural distance people normally keep begins to shrink. What once felt like personal space now feels like shared space. This shift is often unconscious. A woman may not actively decide to move closer or allow more physical proximity. Instead, her body simply responds to the feeling of safety and connection she experiences during the interaction. This is why observing reactions becomes important. When a woman feels comfortable with a certain level of closeness, her body language usually reflects that comfort. She might lean slightly toward the person she is speaking with, maintain longer eye contact, or remain relaxed when there is gentle contact during conversation. These signals often appear together. Physical closeness, open posture, and engaged conversation usually happen at the same time. When these elements combine, they create a clear sense that the interaction has moved beyond simple politeness. Another important factor during this stage is emotional tone. If the conversation includes genuine interest, shared laughter, and moments of deeper discussion, physical closeness begins to feel natural rather than awkward. The connection becomes less about casual interaction and more about enjoying each other's presence. However, the most important element remains respect. Physical interaction should always follow the natural rhythm of the conversation. It should never feel forced or rushed. When connection grows authentically, closeness develops without pressure. When pressure appears, the atmosphere changes immediately. The body instinctively recognizes discomfort and distance returns quickly. But when closeness grows through mutual comfort, the interaction continues smoothly and naturally. This stage often marks the beginning of genuine attraction. Both people start to feel that the conversation carries more meaning than simple friendliness. They begin to enjoy the shared space between them, and their body language reflects that feeling. From this point forward, the connection can deepen even further as trust and familiarity continue to grow. One of the most important things to understand about attraction and physical closeness is that it almost always develops gradually. Real comfort between two people rarely appears all at once. Instead, it grows step by step through moments of trust, positive interaction, and emotional safety. Trust is the foundation of every meaningful connection. When a woman feels that she can relax around someone, her body language begins to reflect that comfort. She may stand closer, maintain longer eye contact, or allow moments of casual contact that she would normally avoid with someone she does not know well. But this level of comfort does not appear instantly. It develops through repeated experiences where the interaction feels respectful and natural. A good conversation, shared laughter, and calm presence can slowly build the sense that the other person is safe to be around. Over time, this sense of safety creates emotional openness. When people feel emotionally open, their physical boundaries naturally adjust. Personal space becomes smaller, gestures become more relaxed, and interactions begin to feel more fluid. This process is important because it shows that attraction is not something that can be forced. Many people make the mistake of believing that physical closeness alone can create connection. In reality, closeness is usually the result of connection rather than the cause of it. When trust and comfort already exist, physical proximity feels natural. When those elements are missing, even the smallest attempt at closeness can feel uncomfortable or unwelcome. This is why patience and awareness matter so much in social interaction. A person who respects the natural pace of connection creates an environment where comfort can grow organically. Instead of trying to push the interaction forward, they allow the relationship to develop through genuine communication and shared experiences. Women often notice this patience. It signals emotional maturity and confidence. A man who remains calm and respectful of boundaries shows that he values the interaction rather than trying to control it. This kind of presence can make someone feel more relaxed and open. As trust builds, the interaction begins to feel more effortless. Conversation flows naturally. Physical proximity feels comfortable, and both people start to sense a deeper level of connection. At this point, attraction often becomes clear. It no longer depends on guessing signals or analyzing behavior. Instead, the interaction itself begins to feel warmer, more personal, and more engaging. Understanding that trust develops gradually changes the way people approach relationships. Rather than rushing toward physical closeness, they focus on creating genuine connection. When that connection exists, closeness becomes a natural expression of the comfort and trust that have already formed between two people. As connection grows between two people, something deeper begins to influence how physical closeness is perceived. It is not only about where or when contact happens, it is also about the energy and emotional presence behind that interaction. People are highly sensitive to emotional signals. When someone stands close to you or touches your hand during conversation, your brain immediately begins interpreting more than the action itself. It senses tone, confidence, calmness, and authenticity. All of these signals are communicated through body language and emotional presence. This is why the same gesture can feel completely different depending on the person. For example, a light touch on the arm during conversation might feel friendly and natural when it comes from someone who is calm and confident. But the exact same gesture might feel uncomfortable if it comes from someone who appears nervous, unsure, or overly intense. The difference lies in emotional energy. Confidence often creates a feeling of safety. When someone appears relaxed and comfortable with themselves, their movements tend to feel natural. Their gestures are not rushed or forced, and their presence feels steady rather than overwhelming. This calm energy allows the interaction to flow smoothly. Women often respond strongly to this sense of emotional stability. It suggests that the person they're interacting with is grounded and aware of the social atmosphere around them. That awareness makes the interaction feel more respectful and comfortable. Authenticity also plays a major role. When someone behaves naturally instead of trying to perform or impress, it creates a more genuine connection. Conversations feel easier because neither person is pretending to be someone they are not. This authenticity can make physical interaction feel more meaningful. A simple gesture can feel warm and sincere when it reflects genuine interest rather than a rehearsed attempt to create attraction. People often sense this difference instinctively. Another factor that influences these moments is emotional awareness. A person who pays attention to the other person's reactions is more likely to create comfortable interactions. They notice whether the other person seems relaxed or tense, engaged or distant. When someone shows this level of awareness, the interaction becomes balanced. Both people feel respected and the conversation develops naturally without pressure. This balance creates a space where closeness can grow gradually. In many ways, energy and presence shape the entire experience of connection. Words matter, but the emotional tone behind them often matters even more. When someone communicates with calm, confidence, and authenticity, their presence becomes more inviting. As a result, physical closeness often feels like a natural extension of the emotional connection that is already forming between two people. As physical comfort grows during interaction, another important skill becomes necessary: the ability to recognize genuine signals without misinterpreting them. Many social situations become confusing because people focus on one small moment instead of observing the overall pattern of behavior. One gesture alone rarely tells the whole story. For example, a brief touch during conversation might simply be friendly. Standing close during a crowded moment might happen purely because of the environment. These individual actions by themselves do not always indicate attraction. The key is to observe consistency. When several signals appear together, comfortable proximity, relaxed body language, sustained eye contact, and engaged conversation, they begin to form a clearer picture. These combined signals suggest that the interaction feels natural and enjoyable for both people. However, misunderstanding these signals can create problems. Sometimes people assume that any form of physical contact automatically means romantic interest. In reality, many individuals are naturally expressive and comfortable with casual gestures. A friendly personality can sometimes be mistaken for attraction when it is simply warmth or social ease. This is why emotional intelligence becomes so valuable. Emotional intelligence allows someone to read the atmosphere of a situation rather than focusing on a single action. It involves paying attention to tone, facial expressions, and the general energy between two people. When these elements align, understanding the interaction becomes much easier. For example, if a woman consistently maintains eye contact, smiles frequently, stays close during conversation, and seems engaged in the discussion, these signals together often indicate that she feels comfortable and interested in continuing the interaction. On the other hand, if someone appears distracted, frequently creates distance, or responds with short answers, it may suggest that the connection is not developing in the same way. Awareness of these differences prevents misunderstandings. Another important point is that genuine attraction usually feels natural rather than forced. When both people enjoy the interaction, their body language tends to mirror each other. They may lean slightly forward at the same time, laugh together easily, or remain comfortable in shared silence. These moments reveal emotional alignment. Understanding these patterns allows someone to approach social interaction with more confidence and respect. Instead of guessing or making assumptions, they observe how the other person responds and adjust their behavior accordingly. This awareness creates healthier communication. It ensures that physical closeness and emotional connection develop through mutual comfort rather than pressure or misunderstanding. When someone learns to recognize genuine signals, they begin to see social interactions more clearly. The uncertainty fades, and connection becomes something that grows naturally through shared comfort, respect, and attentiveness. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, one truth becomes clear. Attraction is rarely something that appears suddenly or dramatically. Most of the time, it develops quietly through small moments of comfort, trust, and emotional awareness. Many people spend too much time searching for obvious signs. They expect direct statements, bold flirting, or clear signals that remove all uncertainty. But real human connection usually unfolds in much subtler ways. It appears through body language, tone of voice, and the way two people naturally respond to each other's presence. This is why nonverbal communication can completely change how someone experiences social interactions. Instead of focusing only on words, you begin noticing the deeper rhythm of conversation. You observe how relaxed someone seems around you, how comfortable they are with proximity, and how naturally the interaction flows. These details often reveal more than spoken language ever could. When two people feel comfortable together, their behavior reflects it. They remain engaged in the conversation, maintain open body language, and show genuine interest in what the other person is saying. The interaction feels effortless rather than forced. That effortless feeling is often the clearest sign of connection. Another important lesson is that genuine attraction always grows from mutual comfort and respect. It cannot be created through pressure or manipulation. When people feel safe and valued, they naturally become more open to closeness. This openness allows connection to deepen over time. It is also important to remember that every interaction is unique. Not every moment of friendliness leads to attraction, and that is perfectly normal. The goal is not to force meaning into every gesture, but to remain aware of the signals that appear naturally. When awareness replaces assumption, communication becomes much clearer. You begin to respond to the situation rather than trying to control it. Conversations become more relaxed, interactions feel more authentic, and connections develop in a way that feels natural for both people. Ultimately, the real secret to understanding attraction is simple. Pay attention. Notice how people react to your presence, how they respond during conversation, and how comfortable they feel in shared space. When you observe these signals with patience and respect, you begin to understand the silent language of human connection. And once you understand that language, you will rarely feel confused about social interaction.